What is going on, everybody, and welcome to this Saturday edition of the Stokastic NHL Strategy Show. I'm your host, Josh Harris. If you're just tuning in, which why would you tune in earlier? It does say Sunday on there. They got the days mixed up. This is today's. We don't do shows on Sunday, so it's for today's slate. But yeah, we have a 7-gamer here tonight. We took yesterday off. The GPPs were lacking. They're even worse today, but we're here. I don't know why. There's no point in even like surmising why, because there's nothing going on today. Like MMA locks at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 hours before the slate, but it is what it is. Nice size slate here, 7 games. My favorite. I honestly don't know what you needed last night. I know the Rangers looked like ass. The Leafs looked like ass.
Owen Tippett had a hat trick.
Grip it, rip it, and tip it. I was a day early on Mr. Tippett. But yeah, 7 games here tonight, helping me to break it down. Slim Cliffy, what's going on?
Yeah, not a whole lot. Unusually small Saturday for the NHL, especially given the compression of the season. Only 2 afternoon games, 7 tonight, only 9 games total. Normally we're used to, 3 to 5 games through the afternoon and then maybe 8 games or something at night. But we take those 7-game slates when we can get them. Interesting slate ahead of us. No Colorado on the board. Always appreciate that. But we do have Edmonton. Leon Draisaitl came back on Thursday. Montreal-Boston, pretty big game in Boston here tonight. Jet Greaves getting the start again for Columbus. Who could have thought that he was going to be their best goalie? Nobody saw that coming. There are like a couple chalky spots, but they're the super cheap chalky spots, and I don't think they're very good. And other than that, it seems like a fairly wide open slate. And for a 7-gamer, don't mind that one whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's not an extremely high total. Like, once you, like, obviously Edmonton has a 3.6, but everyone else after that is like 2.8 to 3.4. So it's like a really, well, besides the Blues, but no one counts the Blues because they're the 8th wonder of the world in reverse. But, like, yeah, there's some interesting spots, like, ownership's fairly spread out. There's not a line that's coming in like wildly chalky besides, the usual suspects, which we'll talk about. But yeah, I mean, I'm kind of excited for this slate. I wish the GPPs were better because I, want to, win more than an Arby's gift card, but it is what it is. You take it when you can get it. So let's get into this slate. First game on the board. Tampa Bay Lightning back-to-back on the road, 3.3 total, heading into Columbus. Our Blue Jackets, 3.1. How dare them give them a 3.1 against Jonas Johansson? I mean, he does have a .915 save percentage on the season, which is like 86% above his career average, but still. Tampa, Cirelli returned last night in between Hagel and Kucherov. Hagel came back after taking a puck to the dome. I think he should be fine. He finished the game yesterday. Probably just had to get some repairs. So it's Cirelli, Hagel, Kucherov, James, Gensel, Gonsalves, Columbus going Fantilli, Marchenko, Marchment, Coyle, Sillinger, Olivier, Monahan, Jenner, Johnson. Start on the Tampa side for because I want to. How about that? Kucherov, Hagel, Cirelli, 21,900, 27.2% top 2. I believe it's the highest on the night, 13% projected ownership. Now, there's a couple things with that. Back-to-back on the road. Hagel should be fine. I mean, it's a 7 o'clock lock. You never know. He could wake up and his face was like swollen like a pumpkin and he might not be able to play, but it is Jet Greaves in net. He's been easily their better goalie. Rick Bowness, tanking the second he gets there. But it is Jet Greaves. There really isn't a huge matchup concern here. Like, they send out the Coyle line against top comp. They've been league average at best, I would say. And the Cirelli, Hagel, Kucherov line has been excellent offensively. Now, they are really expensive at 21,900. Only Edmonton 1 is more expensive here tonight. You have Carolina, Minnesota, some Florida below them. But really, there's only there's only 5 lines, 18K and up here tonight. So, like, there's going to be a bunch of value here. So, if you do want to play Tampa, I think it's fine. It's a really good power play matchup. Not that, the Tampa power play is some world beater, but, Kucherov and Hagel do see top power play time. It's just expensive for me back-to-back on the road when Edmonton's fully correlated, a little bit more expensive in a really good power play spot, which we'll get to at the end. They're fine. But for me, when I'm spending up above 20K, I want, full correlation. I want really good power play spot. So, they are in a good power play spot, but they're not fully correlated. Now, Cirelli's still going to play heavy minutes because their center depth is absolute cheeks. But, back-to-back on the road, it's hard to prioritize them over Edmonton here. I have no issue with it. But, they were in a bad power play spot last night and a better one here tonight. I have no issue with it again. I think, Gensel one-off here is a spicy meatball because that second line really isn't coming in with a ton of ownership. 1.5%. He is expensive at 7,200, but he plays a ton. He's on the top power play. Him and Gonçalves have played well together. They're going to see, it doesn't matter, the top line or the Monahan line, both not great defensively. So I think, Gensel one-off is good here. Kucherov one-off always in play. I don't think I'm going to be full stacking Tampa here. On the Columbus side, it is Jonas Johansson in net, and that's always appealing. Marchenko, Fantilli, Marchman, 16,700, 8.3% top two, 9% projected ownership. That would be the line I'd go to. I know people still want to go back to Jenner, Monahan, and Johnson. They're $5,500 less than the Marchenko line. Their top two stacks only 2.6%, and they're coming in with higher ownership than that top line. Now, it's not a good power play matchup. Obviously, Tampa has a good penalty kill. It might improve now that Jonas Johansson's in net, but it's not Tampa's penalty kill hasn't been one of those penalty kills that was very heavily influenced by save percentage. They just have a good one. So it's not a great power play spot. And we'll talk about, Montreal in a second in that price range. I think I prefer Montreal 1 here. I have no issue with them. They have been very good at 5-on-5. They're going to avoid that top pair for Tampa. So, I think they're more MME for me. The ownership on that Columbus second line is the highest negatively leveraged line on the night. Now, they are only 11,200, and they're going to see bottom 6 matchups of the Lightning. So, sure, can you play them? Sure. If you pair them with another chalky line that fits super easily in, the 150 max or the 12 max, whatever the fuck it is today, it might just be fit too easily. And you're like, maybe. But in single entry, there's so many ways to get different. They're fine. I don't like the ownership, so I'd go to the both top lines here.
Yeah, I'll start on the Tampa side. I mean, they do have the second highest road total of any team on the board. Only Carolina is higher. I think the difference between those two teams, leaving the matchup aside, is if both teams get 4 goals tonight, Carolina could see a goal from each of their 4 lines or 3 goals from their defensemen or something like that. If Tampa Bay gets 4 or 5 goals here tonight, you got to figure there's a half dozen players that are going to figure in on them, right? It's the top line and then Gensel, and then maybe, we'll get to defensemen like Radish. Maybe Bjorkstrand or someone gets involved. You know what I mean? So I think that would be the case here for Tampa Bay is if you want to save some money from the Edmonton stack, that is $1,400 more expensive. and have a line where you assume that the scoring is going to be concentrated. I think you're perfectly fine going to Kucherov, Hagel, Cirelli. Like, I'm not worried about the 5-on-5 matchups going up against Columbus. What I'm worried about is that it's Greaves starting. Like, this is a case where I really wish it was Merzlikins. It's been a world of a difference between those two goalies. I mean, not only this season, right? Like, it's been a big difference this season. But if you go back to last season, Merzlikins is giving up almost a full goal more against per game than Greaves is. Like, it is a huge difference. It's bigger than the Lindgren-Thompson gap that we always talk about. So, you know, I think I'm fine using Tampa 1 here, but where Edmonton is only $1,400 more expensive, like, I do think there's a lower owned pivot that's only a little bit more expensive. I mean, you know, I think like a one-off, you know, we always say like a one-off Kucherov is just fine. Like, Kucherov has the second highest projection of anybody on the board here tonight. Only McDavid is higher. So he's perfectly fine as a one-off. Brandon Hagel has the fifth highest projection of anybody on the board here tonight. I think he's perfectly fine as a one-off. What worries me about that line, honestly, is Cirelli, right? Like, you were talking about his ice time. His last 4 games, 20 minutes, 16 minutes, 13 minutes, 19 minutes. The 19 and 20-minute games went to a shootout. So, like, is he going to get more than 17 minutes or something like that? Like, it doesn't really feel like they're treating him as he's their top center, like, necessarily. Like, he's not getting like what Braden Point would normally get when he's playing well. So I think I'm more interested in one-offs from the Tampa Bay side than I am full stacking, or just like a 2-man of Kucherov and Hagel, honestly, and then being on your way. Like, I do like that Tampa top line here tonight. I just think I might be a little bit more tempted with Edmonton. Like, as far as the depth goes, like, if you want a one-off Gensel or something like that, Bjorkstrand's on the power play, like, that's fine, like, those kinds of things. But I think this is a case where, like I said, I think you can only realistically see like 5 or 6 guys getting like heavily involved in the goals if they get a bunch of goals here tonight. So I would focus on the top line. I would probably just gear towards like a 2-man of Hagel or Kucherov, or just one off somebody. On the Columbus side, like, it's not necessarily a great matchup because Tampa is a pretty good defensive team, but it is Jonas Johansson in net. And, you know, while Johansson hasn't been as bad this year as he normally is, the difference between him and Vasilevsky is still over a half goal against per game. Now, it's still a good goals against, just because Tampa does limit shots. But obviously this is a much better matchup than it would be facing Vasilevsky. Like, you know, that Columbus top line only played, you know, around 90 minutes together, but 66 shot attempts, 2.9 expected goals for per 60. Adam Fantilli only has 1 goal in his last 23 games. That's Brock Besser stuff. You know, he's still averaging nearly 3 shots per game in that span. So it's not like he's not getting his chances. Got to think he's going to break through eventually, and they're getting good ice time. That's what's kind of drawing me here, is that Columbus top line. You know, Marchenko and Marchment will probably skate like 18, 19 minutes, Fantilli 20 plus. It's not a good power play matchup. That does worry me. The power play has been better with Coyle there, so that is something. In a nutshell, like, considering the price is over $4,000 less, with less ownership, I would probably go to Columbus 1 over Tampa 1. But yeah, I agree with you. I think both top lines firmly in play, but I think if I'm 3-man stacking an even strength line, I'm more interested in Columbus 1 than anything from the Tampa side. I'll also say Columbus 3, I'm not super big on them, but, you know, they have been, whatever they've been defensively this year, and they've actually been solid. They've also been good offensively, right? 3 expected goals, 3.6 actual goals per 60 at 5-on-5 and over 200 minutes together. And, you know, that Kucherov line is below average defensively with Jonas Johansson in net. Columbus 3 is one of those stacks at 9,300 that you can pair with Edmonton, right? That if you are playing the expensive Edmonton guys, Coyle, Sillinger, Olivier is under 10K. And if you want just 2-man like Sillinger, Coyle, I think the total price there is like 6,700 or something like that. And you get Coyle on the top power play. So For me, it goes Columbus 1, Tampa 1, Columbus 3. In general, I think I do like the Columbus side better here just because I don't really like full stacking the Tampa top line. If I'm full stacking anything, I'm more interested in Columbus 1 and even Columbus 3 as a filler to put with your expensive Edmonton stuff.
Yeah. Agreed. Montreal Canadiens with a 3.2 total. Heading into Boston, the Bruins have a 3.3. Alex Texier back. And on the top line with Suzuki and Caulfield, then Kapanen, Slavkovsky, Demidov. They moved Kirby Dach down with Zach Bolduc and company down there. Bruins going Lindholm, Pasternak, Kuznetsov, Middlestat, Zaka, Arvidsson, Minton, Geeky, Steves, freshly extended Alex Steves. Still not playing him. This is Boston top line. 15,900, 10% top two, 15.8% projected ownership. Why? Like, I know it's a good power play spot, but if they're going to go out against Suzuki, Caulfield, Texier, one, it's like listen, there's not like a terrible matchup for coming back, but like if you're going to go out against anyone on the Canadiens where you're like, oh, they might actually play defense, it's Suzuki, Caulfield, Texier. On top of that, this line is just not creating. They're not doing anything. The only reason they've been scoring is because Pasternak's an alien. So, like, if anything, I'm doing a one-off Pasternak. I think if I was going to play a line on the Bruins, it would be the Zaka, Arvidsson, Middlestat line. You know, they haven't been, like, world beaters offensively, but they're going to see bottom six matchups of the Habs. And listen, like, as Cliffy always says, and I've actually watched the Habs a little bit, once you get past that Suzuki line, it is just like wide open hockey. Like the ice is just free. It's like, you know, open skate night. So like you get Zaka on the top power play. You know, Arvidsson and Middlestat are on the second power play unit. I don't think you need a full stack. I think you do like Zaka, Arvidsson, or you can just do like Zaka, Pasternak, because it is a good power play matchup. And you can add in Charlie McAvoy. He's 4,700. Something like that. You want to do, you know, you could go to Minton and Geeky. They've really kind of fallen off after a really hot start. So for me, it would be Boston 2. Obviously, Pasternak one-off is always in play. Like the top line, if they weren't 15% and they were like 3%, maybe. But like at 15%, creating 2.2 expected goals for in 114 minutes, like it's a pass for me. If Marek Kuznetsov has a 5-point game and burns me, I'll wake up tomorrow and shed a tear and then get ready for Monday's slate. But Boston 2 for me. On the Montreal side, I do like Montreal 1. They're 16,800 with Texier there. They've been excellent with Texier there. There's a couple of things that concern me. One, you know, obviously McAvoy's back in the lineup. Hampus Lindholm back in the lineup. And that top line has been very good defensively. This Bruins team is generally, when fully healthy, a decent defensive team. Now, the one thing that the Habs have going for them here is the Bruins take a ton of penalties, and Suzuki and Caulfield have been lighting it up on the power play. So for 16,800, I think they're perfectly in play. You know, would I rather play them than Columbus 1? It's debatable. It's close because, you know, Montreal's in an excellent power play spot, not the best 5-on-5 spot. Columbus is in a decent-ish to poor 5-on-5 spot and not a good power play spot, but the goalie sucks. So, like, you know, maybe I have a slight lean to Montreal. So I do like Montreal 1 here. I think Montreal 2 also is in play just because, you know, once you get past Lindholm, Pasternak, and Kuznetsov, like you run into league average or worse defensive lines. And, you know, Slavkovsky and Demidov are on the top power play unit. They have been scoring. They've played almost 300 minutes together. They've been fine. So, like, if you don't want to pay up for Montreal 1 going into that Lindholm line. I think Montreal 2 is fine. So, both second lines are in play for me. I prefer Montreal 1 to Boston 1 by a mile.
I think this is one of those games where I think you just kind of focus on the power play guys. Over the course of the full season, Montreal 5th most times shorthanded per game. Boston, the most times shorthanded per game in the league. Over the last 5 weeks, Boston 1st, Montreal 10th. Like, these two teams take a bunch of penalties. Neither penalty kill is very good. Like, both penalty kills are around or worse than league average over the last 5 weeks, around or worse than league average over the course of the season. And, that's why Boston's giving up the 3rd most power play goals against per game in the league this year, and Montreal's giving up the 6th most. Like, this is a very good power play spot for both sides. And so, like, if I were to start on the Montreal side, like, I think with Montreal, I think, like, one thing you can do, if you can just play the top line and then add in one of Demidov or Slafkovsky. But I would definitely, if I'm playing the Habs here tonight, it's Suzuki, Caulfield, and then add Demidov or Slafkovsky to the line. And if you want to put them in over Texier, like, I think that's perfectly fine. Demidov is only $700 more than Alex Texier is, so it's not even that big of a jump in price. Now Slavkovsky $1,700, so that makes it that changes the equation a bit. But for an extra $700 to put in Demidov over Texier, I think that's perfectly fine. And, like, that Montreal top line, they're up near 125 minutes, 71 shot attempts, 4.1 expected goals, 4.8 actual goals. They've just been absolutely, as you might say, nitrous at 5-on-5. So I do like Suzuki, Caulfield, and then X. Whether you want to just leave in Texier, I think you can, but I would probably get in one of Demidov or Slafkovsky. Like, if you want to dip down to Montreal 2 and kind of do the same thing and do, like, Demidov, Slafkovsky, and then Suzuki, I think you can do that. But, given the way that Cole Caulfield has been scoring this year, you know what I mean? Like, he has 26 goals. He's on pace for a 40-plus goal season. His last 10 games, he's averaging over 3 shots per game. Like, that's not the type of guy I'd want to leave off a stack. So, if I do want to play both guys from Montreal too, I might just full on power play stack at that point. Go Suzuki, Caulfield, Slafkovsky, Demidov, add in Hudson, and be on my way. But it's Montreal 1 by far that I like best on the Montreal side, and it's nice to have Texier back. Doc really just wasn't cutting it. On the Boston side, like, it's kind of the same thing. Like, leave off Kuznetsov and then go, like, Lindholm, Pasternak, Zacha, Lindholm, Pasternak, Geeky, Zacha, Pasternak, like you said, like something like that. Like, Montreal is giving up a bunch of goals on the power play. They're giving up a bunch of power play opportunities as it is. Like, that top line, I do worry that they're going to crash eventually. Their last 15 games, the top line shooting 17%, which is absolutely insane. Boston's shooting 16.6% with Elias Lindholm on the ice this season. When he had his career year with Calgary, when he had like 40 goals or whatever, they were under 14%. This year it's 16.6. So, it's one of those things, like, you got to think over the final third of the season, whatever, that's going to come down. But this is a good matchup. Like, Montembeault has been better since he went on the conditioning stint or whatever. He's been better since he came back, but he's not been great or elite or something that I'd be concerned about or anything like that. So what I prefer the Montreal side, just because I think they do draw more power play opportunities, generally speaking. But this is a spot where I think no matter what you do on either side, you play the power play guys. And I think if Montreal, you build around Suzuki and Caulfield, and if you're on the Boston side, you build around Pasternak. Again, like, I think I would prefer Montreal. You don't have to worry about paying all the way up for Pasternak. You don't have to worry about picking between Lindholm or Zach or anything like that. But I think both sides like the power play guy. This is, like, I don't know if it's the best power play spot. We'll get to that in our very next game. But I think these two teams may be in the best power play spots on the board here tonight. If not, they're two of the top 4 teams.
Yeah. 16% Elias Lindholm is one of the many reasons I'm in therapy right now. Carolina Hurricanes with a 3.4 total heading into Ottawa. The Sens have a 3.1. Carolina going Aho, Jarvis, Svechnikov, Stankov and Hall, Blake, Stahl, Martinook, Ehlers. Ottawa going Stützle, Batherson, Giroux, Cousins, Kachuk, Grieg, then Pinto, Zetterlund, Amadio. So the Sens, man, what a clown organization they are. Like Pinto, Giroux, Amadio were a really good shutdown line. I would imagine it gets worse with Fabian Zetterlund there. I don't have the sample in front of me.
I actually looked that up. The expected goals against for the third line with Claude Giroux is 1.9, and without him, it's 2.4. So it goes from 30%. Like elite defensive line to league average.
Yeah. And they're the ones who go out against Aho, Jarvis, and Svechnikov at home. A league average line going up against that line with 3.3 expected goals, 3.2 actual, fully correlated in one of the best power play spots on the night. Like, is the Carolina power play much better than it's been lately?
I mean, it's been better with Nikushin running it at least.
Yeah. They're 20,400. I'm fine with it just because I'm always in on Carolina one, and Aho's price has come down. Like, I don't mind spending $7K on Jarvis. I don't mind $6,600 on Svechnikov, but when Aho's like 7,400, 7,500, it just feels bad because he doesn't have a ton of shot volume. You're kind of really relying on the score sheet, but you know, at 6,800, 3 assists, the shot on goal, 2 blocks, you're probably cooking. And that's what you need anyway, because like if you don't get bonuses with a line over 20K, you're just, you know, just head to tomorrow. So I do like Carolina one here. If you don't want to spend for them, I think they have 3 very playable lines here. Like Stützle, Batherson together this season haven't been very good defensively. I think that's why they moved Giroux up there. You know, it should help a little bit. But they're going to see Stankov and Hall and Blake, and in 225 minutes, 3.8 expected goals, 3.7 actual. And listen, they don't play a ton, but they're 11,400. You probably can fit them with Edmonton if you do some funky stuff with your goalies and defensemen. You know, they are fully correlated on the second unit for whatever it's worth, but it's a pretty good 5-on-5 spot in against the team that's generally been good defensively now. They're coming in only at 1.4% projected. So, yeah. And that top line is coming in with heavy positive leverage as well, 3.8% projected leverage, or top 2. Ownership, there we go. But if you don't want to go to that second line either, like that Stahl, Ehlers, Martinook line has they've played 50 minutes together. Their sample is wild. They're creating enough goals to start a revolution. They just aren't scoring right now. But you do get Ehlers on the top power play unit. Like, you've talked a bunch about how Stahl is a very good center for Jarvis. The same thing rings true for Ehlers. That line has been excellent. 12K even, not much ownership. They'll see, you know, Kachuk and Cousins and Grieg, a little bit better than league average defensively. So I'd probably go just straight up in order. I like the top line the best just because of the power play matchup. The second line as second best because they've been unbelievable. They have a decent 5-on-5 spot, and they're fully correlated on the second unit. That third line has been great. The correlation isn't great. The 5-on-5 matchup isn't great, but they do get Ehlers on the top power play. On the Sens side, it's like their best offensive line by a mile is Cousins, Kachuk, Grieg. But they're probably going to see a fair bit of that Stahl line just by the way they match up at home, and that's not ideal. So I'd probably go to Pinto, Zetterlund, Amadio. Do like a 2-man Pinto, Zetterlund, or Pinto, Amadio, or something like that. They've been, you know, Pinto and Amadio have been decent together offensively this season. The worst defensive line, arguably on the Carolina, is that top line. It's a little bit worse than league average. Brandon Bussey has been really good. So, I'm not super excited about playing the Sens here tonight. I guess you could play Stützle, Batherson, Giroux at 15-5. I don't know, man. I don't want to stack the Sens without Brady Tkachuk unless I'm using a filler line. So if you want to use Tkachuk Cousins, that's fine. They've been great, but they're going to kind of galaxy brain themselves into seeing that stall matchup. So I'd probably just go to the third line as a filler.
Yeah, I'll start on the Ottawa side. I would probably go to Tkachuk, Cousins, and Greig for a couple reasons. One, it's the only line I really have confidence in that will actually be any good. I mean, honestly, I do like Claude Giroux. Maybe he helps the Stützle Batherson line a little bit, but with Zetterlund there, they're at 2.9 expected goals for per 60. With Stützle playing next to Giroux this season, 54 shot attempts for, 68 against per 60. They haven't been able to control the play. So, I don't have. I mean, listen, anything can happen in a single game. That's why you kind of you might want to go to that Ottawa side, especially because they're not carrying very much ownership. But there are a pile of lines between 15 and 16,500 or something like that. Columbus 1 is at 16.7. We just talked about them. Montreal 1 is in that neighborhood. There's a couple Washington lines. There's Detroit 2. There's a bunch of stuff you can play in that price range. And you talk about Bussey. He's made 22 starts this year. He's given up more than 3 goals twice and once in the last 11 weeks. Jacob Slavin has only been on for 1 goal against on the penalty kill in the games that he's played this year. I think him coming back makes a big difference. If this was a couple weeks ago, we got Anderson starting and no Slavin in the lineup, I think that's one thing. But with Bussey starting and Slavin in the lineup, it's something entirely different. I'll never say no to a Brady Tkachuk one-off, but he's not getting a lot of ice time. We talked about it the other night. That line of Cousins, Tkachuk, and Greig, Ridley Greig is getting the most ice time per game of those guys. Over the last 5 games, Cousins and Tkachuk are 15 to 16 minutes. Greig's at 17. And I don't see why that would change here tonight, right? Because they're going to use the Pinto line in a shutdown matchup, and so they're going to go out against Carolina 1. They're not going to play the Stützle line 14 minutes, so they're going to get a lot of ice time too. This Cousins-Tkachuk line is basically the third line at this point. Some one-offs or something like that, I guess that's fine, but I'm not really in on Ottawa here. For me, it's Carolina, and for the way I'm treating Carolina, we always talk about which lines you put in first and which lines you put in second when you're making a single entry lineup. Carolina is not a team where I'm throwing in one of their lines as the first 3 guys in my lineup. What I'm doing is if I have a favorite line, if let's say for whatever reason one of my favorite lines is super cheap, absolutely love Columbus 3 or something like that here tonight, or absolutely love Boston 2, and I have I need an expensive line, then I can add in Carolina 1. Like I said, I'm not worried about the matchup now that Claude Giroux's off that third line. Ottawa's penalty kill still sucks, and that Carolina top power play has been a lot better with Nikishin running it, probably running a little hot with shooting percentage, but they have been scoring a lot more, and it's not like the Ottawa Senators as a team have been opposed to allowing high shooting percentages on the opposing power play,
and their goalies suck.
Yeah, so I really do like Carolina 1, but I think that Stankoven line, considering what I think I might be doing with my lineup here tonight, I haven't made anything yet. I haven't decided, am I going to play Edmonton? Am I going to play maybe Florida or even Minnesota or something like that? I'm still kind of in between here, but I think Carolina is a team where I'd look for my cheap lines. And that Stankoven line's not getting a lot of ice time. You're right. The last 5 games, they're getting 13, 14 minutes a game, but they're also priced like it, right? And the other thing is they're perfectly correlated on the second power play unit, and Carolina is drawing enough power plays where they're seeing like 1.5 to 2 minutes a game of power play time. And the Sens are giving up a pile of power plays. Since Brady Tkachuk came back, the Sens are giving up the 8th most power plays per game in the league. And so you have the 8th least disciplined team with a bad penalty kill, and then that Stankoven line is perfectly correlated at a very reasonable price here tonight. So Blake Hall Stankoven, 11,400. Their last 10 games, 81 shot attempts, 5.2 expected goals per 60. Jackson Blake has 4 goals in that span. Like, I really like the Blake Hall Stankoven line here. I think I would probably use them as filler. If you want to use a stall line, like, not opposed to that at all. I think they're perfectly fine as a filler as well. But for me, it would go Carolina 2, Carolina 1, and then I guess Ottawa 2, but I'm not super in on the Sens here.
Yeah. I'm almost never in on the Sens anymore. Hate to see it, but you also love to see it. Detroit Red Wings with a 2.9 total. Heading into Winnipeg, the Jets have a 3.1. The Jets going Larkin, Raymond, Casper, Kopp, DeBrincat, Kane. Jets going Scheifele, Connor, Iafallo, Perfidi, Taze, Velarde. Like, if there's two teams with like the worst possible iterations of lines because their coaches are absolute clown shows, like, here we are. Now, here's the important thing, right? Simon Edvinson's out for Detroit. Mo Seider is excellent, but Mo Seider without Simon Edvinsson is bad, and that's not an indictment on him. It's just the absolute shit he has to play with besides Simon Edvinsson. What that also means, I just hit puberty. What that also means is that Travis Hamonic is coming into the lineup. Oh, fuck. If Winnipeg 1 was fully correlated here, I would just be bricked up in full sending. But, like, what does Alex Iafallo do for me right now? Absolutely fucking nothing. That line, 17,800, 13.2% top two, 11.6% projected ownership. That's a lot for Alex Iafallo. Now, Simon Edvinsson does do some penalty killing. So their penalty kill, which has been better, might take a little bit of a hit here. Please, God, put Travis Hamonic on the penalty kill. So what I may do there is just go double center, leave off Iafallo, add in Taze for the same price, 17,800. You want to make it expensive, Velarde? Sure. Like, because the way the Jets match up at home, generally, although all their lines have been shit late recently, so they've been doing some weird stuff, but generally they send out Scheifele against bottom 6 matchups. Now, I will say Rasmussen, Soderblom, Appleton have been very good defensively in a 90-minute sample, but none of that was with Travis Hamonic, who easily is the worst defenseman in the history of the NHL, and Beverly Hills, because Beverly Hills is not part of this planet. So, like, I don't really mind Winnipeg 1 here. If you want to turn it to more power play, Taze is fine. So I do like Winnipeg 1. I just wish it was fully correlated. Like, I just wish Velarde was up there because it would make playing them easier. Clicking in Alex Iafallo just blows. But it is what it is. 17,800. It could be a lot worse price. The second line, Taze, Velarde, Perfidi. Like, they're just so bad. But so is Detroit, like, 1 and 2 defensively, you know what I mean? So, and you do get 2 of the guys on the top power play. There's no Evanson. So, like, at best, they're going to see Seider with, like, Sherratt or Jacob Bernard Docker or Albert Johansson, which is going to be below league average. So, I'm kind of fine with Winnipeg 2 here. At 5.3%, like, it's not ideal, and I'd rather play Carolina 2, but if you're trying to diversify your filler portfolio with 11K lines, like, I think they're fine. But for me, it's Winnipeg 1. On the Detroit side, It would probably be Cop, Kane, DeBrincat, and by probably for a 5-on-5 line, it's definitely because Larkin, Raymond, and Casper in a small sample have been atrocious. I'm not playing Rasmussen, Appleton, Soderblom. They're min price. They've actually been fine. But it is pretty funny because in a 92-minute sample, they're creating 2.9 expected goals per 60. They haven't scored. So that just tells you everything you need to know about them. But it would be Cop, Kane, DeBrincat for a 5-on-5 line. If you do want to do a power play stack, I guess it would be Larkin, Raymond and add in JVR or DeBrincat. I don't really want to do that against Connor Hellebuyck. And I know that the Jets aren't great defensively anymore, and their penalty kill hasn't been the best, but it's still Connor Hellebuyck. So I'm kind of mum on Detroit here just because that Kane line's coming in with 7.3%, that Larkin line 4.8%. It's not like they're coming in at 1-2%, right? So I don't really like Detroit, but if I had to play something, it's Cop, Kane, DeBrincat. I don't really want to play Winnipeg either, but without Simon Evanson, that blue line's going to be ass.
Yeah, it's kind of funny that you do mention the defenseman. I was looking at Detroit's penalty kill. They have 5 defensemen this season with at least 50 minutes of penalty killing time. The defenseman with the fewest shots and goals against per minute on the penalty kill is Simon Edvinsson. If you look at their 5-on-5 defensemen, of all the defensemen that have played at least 20 games, the guy with the most shots and goals against at 5-on-5 is Travis Hamonic. This is a very bad swap for the Detroit Red Wings to make. And that's why I don't particularly like Winnipeg too, but you do get 2 guys on the top power play unit, and they're the line that's probably going to see, if not the most, I do think they see more of the Hamonic matchup than the top line will. And listen, you don't have to be a great or even a good line to take advantage of that matchup. I think it's a really good one for Winnipeg too. Not that I'm super keen on them, but they're only 11,400, so you can fit them in with Tampa, Carolina, even Edmonton. So you can fit them in. If you want to take out Iafallo from the top line and put Velarde up there, I was looking at Winnipeg's last 10 games. The top line with Iafallo, 48 shot attempts, 1.6 expected goals for per 60.
They're so fucking bad. Why did they do this to themselves?
But the thing is they've had some big games just because they do move Scheifele and Connor around the lineup every once in a while. They play with the empty net, power play, all that stuff. Mark Scheifele's last 16 games, he has a multi-point game in half of them. 8 of those 16 games, he has a multi-point game. It's just that 7 of those 16 games, he has 0 points. So it's pretty much feast or famine, which I guess is what you might want for your DFS lineup. So, I have no problem playing Winnipeg one here, but it's, like you said, it's not like they're coming in with low ownership or anything like that. The bright side is the argument for Winnipeg is kind of the same thing for Tampa, right? Is if they do get 4 or 5 goals, it's probably coming from 5 or 6 players, right? You're not super good. It's not like Carolina or maybe even Ottawa or even Columbus or something like that, where, maybe Jordan Stahl has a couple goals or Charlie Coyle has a couple goals. You're not really banking on Vladislav Nemesnikov lighting things up here tonight. It's if Winnipeg does do damage offensively, it's going to come from the top guys. So, if you want to do Connor, Scheifele, Velarde, I think that's fine. Connor, Scheifele, Taves, I think that's fine. I do think the penalty kill is going to be worse without Evanson there. It's not like a make or break for Detroit or anything like that. It's just, but those small advantages do matter. I think in general, I prefer Winnipeg one, but there is a case for Winnipeg too, just that they're going to see the Hamonic matchup. On the Detroit side, with Dylan Larkin and Marco Kasper on the top line, Detroit's at 2 expected goals, 2.4 actual goals per 60 at 5-on-5. I guess it's better than with Iafallo on the top line for Winnipeg, but really, it's not a whole lot better. I I like for me, I would go to Detroit too, DeBrincat, Kane, Kopp. Like the Winnipeg penalty kill has been two different teams depending on if Comrie or Hellebuck's in net. Like Hellebuck's been one of the better goalies on the PK this year. I don't think that's like a massive surprise, but it does make a difference with Hellebuck starting. It's not like the Jets take a ton of penalties either. 2.7 times shorthanded per game over the last 5 weeks. It's better than the league average. So I'm not super concerned about power play correlation for the Red Wings here. Like, I guess if you wanted to, like, you could take out Kane and put in Van Riemsdyk, make it a little bit cheaper, go like Van Riemsdyk, Kopp, DeBrincat. I think like something like that is fine. It is Detroit 2 that I would go to on the Detroit side. On the Winnipeg side, it's Winnipeg 1. I'm not super in love with anything on either side, though.
Yeah, no, me either. But Travis Hamonic in the lineup. Why aren't we getting a broadcast from my backyard? Buddy, it's 15 degrees Fahrenheit, which is negative 10 C for the Canadians scoring at home. It's just too fucking cold for that bullshit, Haas. Send me some catering trays. Los Angeles. Oh, fuck this game. Los Angeles Kings with a 2.9 total. Heading into St. Louis, the Blues have a 2.6. Christ, man. Kings going Turcotte, Fiala, Kuzmenko, Laferriere, Perry, Kempe. That's a tongue twister. Say that 5 times fast. Byfield, Fogle, Armia. Blues going Shen, Snuggerud, Bergen. Buchnevich back at center because the Dvorsky experiment as the top line center lasted about 3 games and they got outscored 312-7. So Buchnevich in between Neighbors and Kyrou. What a team. Oh, God. It's like, there's nothing I really want to play on either side. Like, Neighbors and Kyrou have pretty good numbers together, and they're both on the top power play unit, but I don't think Buchnevich has played center this season, has he?
Would it matter if he had?
No. he's had a really bad season. But the problem is, right, I think, like, I don't even know, because they like sending Shen out against top comp, but I don't even know who they're going to consider top comp here. Laferriere, Kempe, Perry? Like, I don't know, because like Buchnevich, maybe they like Jim Montgomery, like galaxy brains himself to going out against Turcotte, Kuzmenko, Fiala, which has been their best line by far. Like, listen, the Kings take a lot of penalties, but the Blues power play doesn't have any power. Like, they need a generator. So, but like, I'd probably just use one-offs here from the Blues because their power play guys are so cheap. Like, they're 3,300 to 4,700. Shen's 3,300, Snuggerud's 4K, Neighbors 3,800, Kyrou 4,700. So if you want to one-off some of those guys, pair them with Broberg or something, just off the sheer volume of penalties the Kings take, and the Blues like might accidentally get a puck in the net for once. Like, I don't mind a one-off Snuggerud, a one-off Neighbors, one-off Kyrou. You want to pair them with Phil Broberg at 3,300. Go on your way. I'm not running out to play the Blues here. They have the lowest total on the slate, and it's not particularly close. What an embarrassment of an organization. On the Kings side, it's just Turcotte, Fiala, Kuzmenko. Like, Turcotte plays, what, like 12 minutes? You can leave him off if you want. Do like a 2-man Kuzmenko, Fiala, add in Brant Clark or something. Like, the Blues don't take a ton of penalties, and it's not like the Kings power play has been much better than the Blues. But, like, if the Blues are going to take penalties, they can't kill anything, and they're back-to-back. The one thing it is Hofer. Hofer's been much better than Bennington this season, but it would be that Kings Turcotte line. I'm probably just doing one-off on the Blues power play guys just because they're so cheap. But, you know, I hope this game sinks like the Titanic.
Yeah, I'm not going to be very long here. On the season, Los Angeles is 30th by goals per minute, and St. Louis is dead last. Every one of the top 3 lines from these two teams is coming in around 2, if not 3x their projected ownership over their top 2 stack. I don't have interest in anything. Like, if this was a case where like this was the one game to go get your cheap stacks, that would be one thing. But we talked about the Columbus second and third lines. We talked about Boston too. We talked about the Carolina second and third lines. We just talked about Winnipeg. There's Washington stuff late. There might be a cheap Washington line later that we could talk about. Like, there is a lot of 9 to 12K lines on the board outside of this game on teams that aren't bottom 3 in the league in goal scoring. I'm out.
Yeah, I should have just led with that. Florida Panthers with a 2.9 total heading into Minnesota. The Wild have a 3.1. Looks like Matt Boldy is back. I think they ran lines with him as well. So Minnesota is going to be going Hartman, Zuccarello, Kaprizov, Eriksson Ek, Boldy, Johansson. You're off down on the third line. Florida going Bennett, Tkachuk, Verhaeghe, Lundell, Reinhart, Luostarinen, Rodriguez, Samoskevich, Greer. It's a pretty interesting game here, honestly. Listen, Florida's just not the team defensively, and it's not like a surprise. We say it every game that they're on the slate. Like, without Barkov, they're just not great defensively. Lundell tried to step up. He's been fine defensively, but offensively, he hasn't really helped. That Bennett line, not great defensively because Tkachuk's not a defensive player. He just, helps them offensively. Florida takes a lot of penalties. They have a good penalty kill, but it is Sergei Bubtitsky in net, and he's been flat out awful this season. He's so weird. Like, if you go look at his career numbers, it's literally Vezina, awful, Vezina, awful, Vezina, awful.
The year they won their first Stanley Cup, he wasn't even the starter going into the playoffs. It was Alex Lyon. Yeah. He got the starting job back in like game 5 or game 6 of the first round.
So, I don't mind this Eriksson Ek, Boldy, Johansson line at 16,300, just because, like, there's no way a Bennett Tkachuk line is going to be great defensively. They're just not. Historically, they never have been. It's not like, Eriksson Ek, Boldy, Johansson have been world beaters this season, but you could make the argument that Boldy's having just as good of a season as Kaprizov. You're saving 3,500 off that Kaprizov line. That Kaprizov line's probably going to see Lundell, Reinhart, and while they haven't been great offensively, they've been fine defensively. So for me, I'd probably just go to Eriksson Ek, Boldy, Johansson. Again, the Panthers take a lot of penalties, but have a good penalty kill. So, going to a one-off Kaprizov here just because he plays 24 minutes is fine. But, I'll take a chance on that Eriksson Ek, Boldy line. Boldy's, I guess, overpriced because he's just coming back from injury at 7,700 or whatever. But that line at 4.3%, I'll take a stab on just because that top line for Florida isn't great. You want to go to the Minnesota one, I have no issues with it. They have the highest top 2 of any Wild line in the game. But the problem is Hartman's not on the power play, and they're 19,800.
He was last game. They didn't put Eriksson Ek back.
I feel like eventually that's gonna change.
Though. Yeah, probably, but would it for tonight? That's the thing. Like, the power play has actually been better with Hartman there.
Yeah. But again, like 19,800 is just in a tough range, right? Because, we talked about Carolina 1, which is $600 more. Then you have Tampa and Edmonton, just below them, 2,000 below them. You have Winnipeg against the Travis Hamonicks of the world. Like, I guess they're fine, but I just prefer Carolina, honestly. So I don't mind going to Minnesota 2 here. On the Florida side, like, it's that Bennett, Tkachuk, Verhaeghe line, 18,800, 18.3% top 2, 14.5% projected ownership. The ownership isn't great. But, like, Tkachuk has played, 3 games now? He's averaging 20 minutes a game, which is a big change from seasons previous just because they need him to play a ton. They're fully correlated. The Wild's penalty kill is atrocious. And I know you'll say it, so I'll just steal your thunder. Uvis Bolinskis running the top power play. It has been better. So it would be that top Florida line. I don't really want to go to Lundell, Reinhart, Lusteron. I'm fine with the Reinhart one-off just because he plays an absolute shitload, and he's on the top power play, but it would be that Bennett line for me. If you do need a filler, two-man of Rodriguez, Samoskevich is fine here. But I think for me in this game, I'd go Minnesota 2, Florida 1, Minnesota 1. I think Minnesota 1's fine, especially because Hartman will probably start on the power play. It's just, I can get this Florida line for $1,000 less against a much worse penalty kill in the same game.
Yeah, I'll start on the Minnesota side. Like, I actually do like Minnesota 1 here tonight, and it's because, as you mentioned, Florida's just not been good defensively this year. On the season, Florida's giving up more goals per minute than Columbus or Montreal. And Montreal had a month-long stretch where the team had like an .830 save percentage. And Florida's still giving up more goals per minute than that team. So this is a very good matchup for Minnesota. Like you said, Florida does take a lot of penalties. Third most in the league over the last 5 weeks. Over the course of the season, second most in the league. The penalty kill has generally been pretty good, so that does matter. Power play's not been great overall since Quinn Hughes got there. It has been better with Ryan Hartman. They are perfectly correlated. The one thing that does concern me, it's not quite to the same level, but it's almost that Edmonton issue where how do you stack Minnesota 1 and leave Matt Boldy off your stack? It's like, how do you stack Edmonton leaving off Leon Draisaitl? Because like Boldy, he leads the team in goals per minute this season. Across the league, he's top 10. Top 15. So, he's been really, really good this year. He puts up shot volume. I hate leaving him off. But, even with Eriksson Ek back, that top line, all three guys still played 22 to 25 minutes in that last game. That's a boatload of ice time for a perfectly correlated top line against a Florida Panthers team that is just not good defensively. I really do kind of like Minnesota 1 here. Again, it's kind of tough to leave off Boldy, but I do think it's a very good 5-on-5 matchup for Minnesota, almost regardless of the line that they go out against. And all that ice time is kind of tough to pass up. So I do like Minnesota 1. Like Minnesota 2, I think they're fine, but we only get one guy on the power play. It's not, and where Florida does take so many penalties, I do want to get power play guys in the lineup. So I think for me, it's Minnesota 1. On the Florida side, I agree with you on the Bennett, Tkachuk, Verhaeghe line. That would be the line that I would play, 18,800. Florida's not been very good with Tkachuk on the ice since he came back.
Awful, actually.
Yeah, it's only been 3 games, but 48 shot attempts, 1.3 expected goals per 60 in those 3 games. That is pretty horrific stuff. Honestly, you wouldn't fault him for needing some time to come back. And it's not what worries me is it's not like they were playing Colorado and Vegas or all these great defensive teams or something like that. They played Washington, San Jose, and Winnipeg. That not being able to generate anything against those 3 teams is a little bit concerning to me. You got to figure Tkachuk's going to get better, but it might take him some. He got dropped into the middle of a compressed schedule season on a team that's not really been that great this year. I'm almost treating Tkachuk. I said this. We've said this about Jack Hughes. I'm almost treating Tkachuk like Jack Hughes at this point, where I'm not going to keep rostering him and hoping he turns it around. I want to see him turn it around, and then I'll roster him. I think that's kind of the way that I look at it. So I think I'm out on Florida here. For me, it's the Minnesota top line that I like best in this game, and it's not particularly close.
We have a $2 super chat from Poe DeGen Stoner 303. I'm going to try to decipher this fucking emoji scene here. For Red Bull, is that a snail? Cookie, donut, fast food fun. Thank you. Ducks, Sharks, Flyers parlay with $100 boost. You need Rosetta Stone. I think you need a Hooked on Phonics book. I don't know what this means, but thank you very much for the super chat. You're definitely vibing right now, so enjoy the rest of your day.
Yeah, always appreciate the support. Always appreciate seeing you in chat, talking with everybody else here. I am a pretty big cookie guy. I really do like cookies, so maybe I'll get some cookies tonight for the game. That's exactly what I'll do. Is I'll go grab maybe some double chocolate, maybe a good peanut butter chocolate chip, something like that. Go get some nice cookies for the game tonight.
I like a good peanut butter cookie, a little snickerdoodle as well. But let's get to this last game. Washington Capitals with a 2.8 total heading into Edmonton. The Oilers have a 3.6. I have no clue what the Cadbury Bunny is doing with these Washington lines. Strome, Leonard, McMichael, Sordif, Protas, Wilson. I mean, that line has been nitrous, but like Dowd with Ovechkin and Frank, that's like a fireable offense, if we're being completely honest. Leon Draisaitl randomly showed up on Thursday night. That like he had to be under 1% owned unless people just like swapped McDavid to Draisaitl. But I should go check that. I should have just figured that out. But Oilers going McDavid, Nugent Hopkins, Hyman, Draisaitl, Mangiapane, Podkolzin. The big news is they went Logan Thompson last night against the Flames for reasons, and they saved Uncle Chuck for the Oilers. It's legit the biggest drop-off in the NHL in a moderate sample. Like Logan Thompson, one of the best goalies in the league. Charlie Lindgren hasn't been like atrocious or anything, but he's not even close to Logan Thompson, and it's a excellent power play matchup. And Edmonton 1 is fully correlated. Draisaitl is back, which immensely helps the power play. I don't know what these lines are, really. I guess they're doing it because the lines before that were just absolutely atrocious defensively. So, like, you throw Nick Dowd at the Ovechkin and maybe they're not awful, but, like, that line of thinking is just not great. So, I do really like Edmonton 1 here. They're 23,300. They're coming in very low owned compared to Tampa as well, like half the ownership. 23,300. 21.7% top two, 7.2% ownership compared to 13.8 on Tampa. Listen, it's a great power play spot. It's a pretty good 5-on-5 spot. I mean, McDavid's always in a good 5-on-5 spot. This line has been great together. The problem I have is not having Draisaitl in there. So it's like, what do you really want to do? Like, if you leave Nugent Hopkins off, that stack becomes 26,300. If you leave Hyman off, it becomes 24,800, and then you're kind of like, oh, crap, because Zach Hyman just scored 2 net front power play goals. So you probably leave Nugent Hopkins off and spend 26,300, and then it just gets unbelievably expensive. But I'm fine with Edmonton 1 here just because it's a good 5-on-5 matchup as well. But I would do everything in my power to get Draisaitl in. I guess you could go McDavid, Draisaitl 2-man and just hope that Hyman doesn't break the slate. So Edmonton 1, Edmonton power play, however you want to, juggle that, I think is where I would go. Like Edmonton 2, like Draisaitl, Podkolzin, Mangiapane. Like I know Mangiapane only plays like 13 minutes. But like that line has been fairly good. I guess you could do that like a 2-man to make it kind of cheap, but again, it's such a good power play spot. I want as many power play guys as I can. On the Washington side, these lines are they're just lines. But like you are shooting on Edmonton goaltender. I mean, Connor Ingram, since his poor start, has been very, very good. And they are back-to-back on the road, but Sordif, Wilson, and Protas have been excellent together. So, it's not the best 5-on-5 matchup, but they have been very, very good in in a fairly large sample. So if I was going to go to any line on Washington, it would be that second line at 15,500. I just like Strome, Leonard, McMichael. That's just a weird fit. Strome away from Ovechkin is like Walmart, Stützle away from Kachuk. So I don't want to play them. Nick Dowd, Frank Ovechkin. That's just the odd couple. So it would be Washington do 2 by default and Edmonton power play.
Yeah. Just to get to your point about Draisaitl and the power play, Draisaitl's figured in on 67% of Edmonton's power play goals this year. McDavid's at 80%. So, I don't think either of those numbers would really surprise anybody, but Draisaitl figures in on 2/3 of their goals. 46% of his points have come on the power play this year. So leaving him off seems like a pretty tough stretch. Now, you can do like McDavid, Draisaitl, Hyman. We have gone through some super cheap lines that you could probably add with them. We talked about Columbus 3. We talked about Winnipeg. Like, there are some cheap spot, like cheap 2-mans even that you can add with them. Like, it's one of those things, like I don't know how you leave off one or the other because it is such a good power play spot. Over the last 5 weeks, the Caps are giving up the 6th most time shorthanded over the course of the season, the 8th most time shorthanded. So the Oilers are probably going to get a fair amount of power plays here tonight. It is Charlie Lindgren, and you mentioned the gap between him and Logan Thompson. It's like 0.85 more goals against per game. It goes from one of the best goals against marks in the league to worse than league average, and then you add in a bad penalty kill on top of that from a team that gives up a ton of power plays facing this Oilers power play. Like, there are just so many check marks for Edmonton here. It's just a matter of what you want to do with them. Like you said, I think if you want to just do like a McDavid, Draisaitl 2-man and just go, just going along with that, or like add in like Mangiapane or Paul Colson or something just for a cheap winger, bring down the average cost of the stack, and then go find a cheap stack elsewhere. I think you can do that. It's just one of those spots where I don't think you can pick like, okay, I'm just playing Edmonton 1. I mean, you can play Edmonton 1 and then just pray Draisaitl doesn't just, nuke the slate. But considering how good of a power play spot that is, it's really threading the needle. I would start my stack with McDavid and Draisaitl and then just kind of go from there. Whether you want to add in one of Nugent Hopkins or Hyman and then add in super cheap players elsewhere around them, add in like Pod Colson, and like I said, drop the average cost of the line, and then you can go play, something like Columbus 2 or, Kings 3 or something like that we talked about earlier. I think you can do that. So, I think you, with Edmonton, given how good of a power play spot this is, it seems, I mean, if you're playing 20 max or 150 or whatever that number is tonight, that's a different story. In single entry, I don't like it'd be like, I think you have to put in McDavid just given how often he figures in on the power play goals, and how good of a power play spot it is. But with Draisaitl not that far behind, I find it pretty hard to leave him off. So I would probably start my stack with those two and just build out from there. On the Washington side, I agree with you on that second line. That second line was Sordi, 69 shot attempts, 4 expected goals, 4 per 60. Over his last 16 games, which is 20% of the season, Alexei Protas has 13 points. That works out to nearly a 70-point pace over the course of a full season. I'm not super concerned about the power play correlation here. I mean, one, the Washington power play has generally not been that great this year. The other is Oilers penalty kill. I mean, not great, but better lately, and they don't take a lot of penalties. 2.4 times shorthanded per game over the last 5 weeks. It's the 4th lowest rate in the league over the course of the entire season, the 7th lowest rate of time shorthanded per game. So not worried about power play correlation from Washington. I just want the best 5-on-5 line. I think that is Washington too. And, at 15,500 with absolutely no ownership. And we just saw Pittsburgh go in there and absolutely just nuke the Oilers off the face of the earth. I think Washington too is very much in play here as a mid-price stack. You compare him with Montreal or Columbus or Boston. You know, if you're worried about ownership on Boston or something like that, and you want to pair them with a low-owned line, I think Washington 2 is one of the spots you do it. So for me, obviously it's Edmonton 1 I like best. I like them the best on the slate, but I find it hard to leave Draisaitl off. So I think it's McDavid, Draisaitl on one side and then Washington 2 on the other.
Yeah. Let's talk about defensemen. Guys in the 6K range and up. First of all, you have Werenski at 8,600, Quinn Hughes 7,600, and then the 6K guys are Bouchard, Chychrun, Radish, Sanderson. Like, I would imagine Werenski has the top projection, like he usually does on slates where Cale Makar does not play. I don't think you need to go out of your way here to put Zach Werenski in. It's not a good power play matchup. It's not the best 5-on-5 matchup. I don't have an issue with him at the price, but there's, top projection. He's the number one guy. Like Quinn Hughes is interesting just because Florida takes a ton of penalties and he plays like 28 minutes a game. I don't love it at the price, but just the sheer volume he's on the ice. If Minnesota wins, he's going to be involved. Bouchard's in a great power play spot. He'd be the number 2 guy for me behind Werenski. And then, Radish, Chychrun, and Sanderson are all in play for me. But I would go Werenski 1, Bouchard 2, Quinn Hughes 3, just because of the volume. But like everyone in this range is definitely playable here tonight.
Yeah. Werenski does have the highest projection of any defenseman here tonight, but in that 6K plus range for expensive defensemen, Darren Radish has the highest point per dollar, and then Evan Bouchard just behind him. I don't mind Evan Bouchard here, honestly. Like, if you don't want to play the expensive Edmonton guys, you don't want to decide between McDavid and Draisaitl and all that. I think just one-offing Bouchard, maybe Edmonton wins like 3-1 or 4-1, and Bouchard figures in heavily because it's such a good power play spot. I think playing Bouchard by himself is fine. You mentioned Quinn Hughes. His last 10 games, he's averaging 29 minutes and 5 seconds per game. Just like, holy shit. He's got 34 shots on goal in that span. He's got 2 shot bonuses, a block bonus, obviously, a few points bonuses. Like, I don't mind him here, but I think if I'm paying up in that price range, like I might just go all the way to Werenski, but probably just land on someone like Bouchard. For the mid-price defenseman, Josh Morrissey, of all people, is in a kind of a tier of his own. High projection, good point per dollar value. Like, I think he's fine. Morrissey and Hudson, I would probably put them in if I'm playing Winnipeg 1 or Montreal 1 here tonight. I would probably add in the defenseman, especially Hudson, just because it's such a good power play spot for the Habs. So I think Hudson is perfectly fine here. The 4 to 5K range I find is pretty interesting. You have Charlie McAvoy there. Like, it's a great power play spot for Boston. So him under 5K, I think is pretty interesting to me. I mean, Brant Clark has the highest projection for any defenseman priced under $5,000 here tonight, which, like, I get it, but it's still the Los Angeles. I suppose, like, if the Kings do get 3 or 4 goals, like, he's probably going to have to figure in heavily. So Clark is fine. Jake Wallman, 4,400, not a bad matchup, especially with Lindgren in net. So I don't mind Wallman. I guess Justin Falk at 4K. I think I'd rather just save some money, go down to Philip Broberg, though, under 4K. Keandre Miller, Philip Broberg, Mike Matheson, Matthias Ekholm, our boy Uvis Balinskis running the top power play for Florida in a great power play matchup for the Panthers. Under 3K, Dylan Sandberg, I suppose, for Winnipeg, but he doesn't get a ton of time with the Mark Scheifele line, and Winnipeg's depth doesn't score a ton. That really concerns me. Nikita Zadorov for Boston, under 3K. Division matchup against Montreal, I worry that Zadorov is going to get himself suspended or something. But
Harper Jack-eyed is what's going to happen.
Yeah, that too. So under 3K for Zadorov. Jake Middleton for Minnesota might have to block some shots here tonight. He's not getting a ton of ice time, but he is a good shot blocker. And Charles Edward Dastus from Tampa. He's not under 3K. He's exactly 3K, but not a bad matchup on the road in Columbus.
Let's talk about goalies. Well, see you Monday. Like goalies, brutal scene here today. In the top range, I don't really want to play anyone. I guess like Kemper at 8,200 is playable. Maybe Bussy at 84. Like Connor Ingram at 85 is fine, but it's just like 8,500 for a goalie. You need a shutout. I don't really like that top range. I think Philip Gustafsson at 7,900 and Connor Hellebuck at 7,800 are really good. I was kind of interested in the Detroit goalie until Evansson got ruled out. But I guess if it's Gibson, you can take a stab because I feel like the volume's going to go up. And then for a cheap goalie, I think it's Montembeault and Hofer. I guess you could take a flyer on James Reimer at 7K, but just like it's 2026. So like I don't think I'll go below Hofer.
Yeah. You're in for a special night when the highest point per dollar value goaltender is Joel Hofer. The expensive goalies, like I would probably go to Philip Gustafsson at home against Florida and just hope Florida's power play doesn't do a whole lot. So Gustafsson, I think Hellebuck at home against Detroit for 7,800 is perfectly fine. I don't like playing expensive goalies on the road. Darcy Kemper at 8,200, I guess, might be the guy. But for me, it's probably between Gustafsson and Hellebuck for the expensive goalies. For the cheaper goalies, like Hofer, I'm not kidding. He has the highest point per dollar projection of any goalie here tonight at 7,200. His overall projection is the fourth highest behind Gustafsson, Ingram, and Hellebuck. So I guess it's Hofer. I'll also shout out John Gibson. Like, Winnipeg is struggling to score goals. John Gibson has generally been pretty fine for Detroit. He's not confirmed yet, so just watch out for that. But I think Gibson at 7,600 is perfectly fine. But Hofer 7,200 looks like he might be the play of the night, which kind of tells you everything you need to know about the goalie slate.
We'll be back Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday this coming week. Tuesday is the big spin on DraftKings. And then Thursday, there's a random 15-game slate, classic NHL. But who you liking for your hat trick pick?
It's not really off the board, but it kind of is. I'm going to go with Oliver Bjorkstrand.
That's off the board. That's the board. And then there's your pick. So I'll keep that energy. I'm going to go to Quick Party's favorite fourth liner, Taylor Hall.
Ooh, fourth liner.
You remember him after the trade? Yeah. He's like, "Hey, the fourth liner."
Yeah. I mean, hey, listen, man, we all get stuff wrong all the time.
You know, marriages, me and him. But yeah. Anyway, well, I hope he's watching. We'll be back on Monday. We'll see you then, and good luck, everybody, tonight. We'll see you in the Discord.
Good luck tonight, everyone.